Hello everyone, this is FDV vladerag here to bring you another Funcast, this time between FDV's wotdefack as the Red Zerg. That's odd, I was almost about to say Protoss since he is a Protoss player, usually versus, what the heck, SGO2 benaiah. Now that looks to me like Centennial Gaming, or not Centennial Gaming, what are they? Maybe it is Centennial Gaming, I don't remember precisely. But a rather large clan system. Hold on. Shouldn't be louder than my voice. Sorry, I play with the sound way up and everything. I read it about. Me and him were discussing the difference between Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a cartoon, and an anime. Well, sort of. Basically, a lot of people call it an anime, and it's not technically an anime. There are some differences, or maybe it is technically. I mean, I guess it. Listen, I'm not going to get into the nerd debate about what is an anime and why Avatar: The Last Airbender isn't one, and why it's a cartoon. But hey, whatever. Either way, we have ZVZ, and even though Avatar: The Last Airbender is the greatest show ever made by humanity ever at any point ever, yeah, it's not really important to what we're doing right now. On the other hand, I will say that M. Night Shyamalan can go to hell. I know I normally try to avoid swearing, but I hate him. I hate his guts. I can't believe he did that to a show he says he likes. Evil bastard. Either way, we have seen a pool first out of benaiah and a hatch first out of wotdefack. Basically, when you play a ZVZ or a Zerg, there's only really three options you have. You can either go Overlord first, pool. I think this is actually Overlord first out of benaiah, but you can either go Overlord first, pool first, or hatch first. Well, even though the hatch first. Okay, let me rephrase that again. When I say hatch first, that is an Overlord, but really what I mean is that you're going Overlord and then pool, as opposed to Overlord and then hatch. If that makes any sense to anybody, I don't know why this is lagging. Probably because I have Avatar: The Last Airbender buffering in the background, though I think it should be done by now. Maybe it's not my... Listen, all I can say is I marked myself as away. I'm trying to catch my... one of the officers of FD Flatliner, who I think is supposed to... He's been gone for like 4 or 5 months. So I saw he was on last night, and I just wanted to see if he would be on again. So I've just been on basically all day. On my way watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and wotdefack just told me he wanted me to cast a game, so well, here I am. By the way, if anybody hasn't seen the Nostalgia Critics review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, you should totally go see that, and I realize I've almost said nothing about this game yet. Oh my gosh. Either way, this hatch is down really late. I shouldn't even say that it's down late, I think. Am I the one lagging? Yeah, I'm lagging. It's sort of unavoidable simply because I do have my internet open, and it's not really, it's doing a lot of work in the background. Normally I wouldn't do this and cast a game, but hey, whatever. Either way, wotdefack really has a supply lead, but there's the metabolic boost coming down. You have to remember that is I think it's the most important early game upgrade for Zerg. I don't even know why you wouldn't get this upgrade, because you are at such a disadvantage. I'm even doing hand motions. I want you to hear my hand motions. You're at such a disadvantage if you don't have metabolic boost. So it's very, very important. By the way, taking a second to note this map, I have cast some fairly interesting ZVZs, or was that a ZVP? Maybe it was a ZVT. No, it was a ZVZ. It was ZVZ on this map, some pro-level games. I'm not sure that my ZVZ actually I casted. I think I just sort of kept that one for myself. Oops. I kind of do that on occasion. either way, and there's the Baneling Nest as well. I'm a little curious as to what Watt is going to be going for. I feel like he's going to be in trouble. We're not seeing Metabolic Boost, we're not seeing a Roach Warren, we're not seeing Lair Tech. We're not really seeing anything but a lot of drones, which there's nothing bad about that. It's just that a lot of ZVZ is that early micro, Ling Bane versus Ling Bang, or some player goes Roach and has to deal with all of those Lings, and it's all about positioning and wall off and defensive versus offensive play. And I feel like just relying on queens for defense probably isn't going to help him much. This lag, by the way, is just killer. Oh my gosh, I'm never going to do a cast like this again. But hey, whatever. I don't even know what Watt is going through. I mean, he doesn't actually have to be here to do this, but hey, whatever. He is, and he's not talking, so I like that. Seeing the evolution chambers being placed in the front here, a much more common position, unlike Watt, who placed them there, they did sort of confuse me. I feel like benaiah, and I swear to God that's Centennial Gaming. I'm going to look up this in the end, and a Roach Warren coming down as well, forming a pretty good wall off there. Normally you don't see this kind of teching out of a player. You'd sort of, I think he was it was defensive Banelings. So, yeah, that was a very defensive move from him. Actually, come to think about it, benaiah, or benaiah, whatever, he's been playing an exceedingly safe style, whereas Watt is playing a vastly more risky one. Limited creep spread, no creep spread, sorry. He went more for, no Banelings, no Zergling speed. I'm really sort of concerned. I don't think that what Watt did really would help him much if benaiah had been at all aggressive. Luckily for him, he isn't. So in the end, it feels like wotdefack might actually be a little bit ahead, simply because he was pretty darn greedy, and benaiah has not taken advantage of it at all. Like, even right here, that Roach basically just got out. That Queen has been undefended. I mean, 4 Lings could have killed that at any point. I think 4 Lings is enough to kill a queen. I don't really know. ZVZ, no matter how much I like it, I'm not as much of an expert as I should be. Nevertheless, you see the creep spread finally moving over there, and only then does he take this base. I mean, just look at this playstyle. I have to admit I like it a lot, just because it's so safe. But safety isn't always the best when your opponent is taking expands well before you. By the way, Christmas tree, for any of you who haven't played on this map or even look closely, because I guess it's now a ladder map, so it's not quite as rare to see it as it used to be. But yeah, so there's the Christmas tree. But anyways, you gotta be really careful about the difference between playing it safe and killing yourself slowly. It's something a lot of Protoss players really have problems with, actually, is that there's a huge difference between being safe and letting your opponent just ruin you. Because if they can't 4-gate you because you got like 40 cannons and 6 gates on one base, yeah, they can't 4-gate you, so they're gonna be like, oh, well, he's turtled in there, I'm just going to sit on his natural, stop him from taking an expansion, take an extra 2 bases, and go mass carrier, because who's gonna stop me? And that's how you die in horrible rage quit type deals. I also want to mention that creep spread in ZVZ, it hasn't been traditionally something very common. Though I believe Husky and Day 9 have begun to mention that it's recently becoming much more popular, especially among Korean players, because of all the vision you get from it. Yes, it does help your opponent, but it also helps you, and the advantage shifts into your favor because you can see everything your opponent does on the creep. Which is, of course, very, very important in ZVZ. Having that map control, and the fact is that, between Overlords and Creep Spread, you really can see the entire map, especially on lower leagues where they're not going to deny it as much as they could. Was Overseer speed buffed? I feel like it was. And not that either of them are actually... Oh, there's an Overseer. Once that thing is done... Is there one actually on the field? No, but once it's done, I plan to figure out what the Overseer's speed is. See if they buffed it. I think it was like 1.2 something maybe before. Gosh, I really should know these things. That's sort of... That is honestly like the main difference between me and some of the other casters, is that I usually know all the statistics off the top of my head, and not knowing it sort of puts me at a disadvantage. 1.88, this was either before or it was never buffed. Or maybe they haven't decided yet. Either way, this army from wotdefack looking a little scarier than what we're seeing out of Benaiah. I will say that Mass Roach actually can do very well versus Roach Hydra, but it has a lot to do with positioning. You need to keep a Roach Hydra player off guard. You need to be able to hit the Hydras and not the Roaches, because basically the Roaches are sort of the tanks, the Hydras are the guns. And yeah, so if you can hit the Hydras, you can just ruin this with Mass Roach. If you can't, then you can be ruined. And that's a lot of roaches coming out. Oh my gosh. By the way, he must have lost an Overlord somewhere here. Oh, yep, he's losing Overlords that are his scouting ones. A lot of roaches coming out for him. Don't know if this is going to be able to make the difference. There going the Banelings. Do they get some good hits off? Might make a difference. Not too much of one. I don't know if... I don't think he has the better arc here, or maybe he does. What happened to... Oh, there's the Hydralisks all of a sudden getting caught really without their roaches to defend them. The Hydralisk versus Roach, really bad idea for the Hydralisks. I feel like this might be a problem, but there are just enough roaches there to distract them. They're going to have to pull back. There's not all that many roaches, so the next wave of roaches is going to cause a lot of problems for our for wotdefack. On the other hand, he definitely has the advantage here, as there are... Don't tell me that. It's not my graphics. It's the fact that I'm still got other screens open and doing all sorts of other things. Either way, I will say that this is more of an advantage to him than his opponent. Though I will point out that Mass Roach is just incredibly powerful. What he really needs to do, I feel, is try and go... Well, there he does have a Hydralisk den. Why isn't he making Hydralisks? Huh. Oh well. Whatever. Battle continuing on. I almost feel like what is going Mass Hydra. Not really something you want to do if you can help it, just because Hydras are so weak. Mass Zergling eats Mass Hydra. Mass Roach also eats Mass Hydra. Pretty much anything eats Mass Hydra. Mass Hydra is just sort of terrible. Maybe verse... Actually, now, I should really take that back. There was a time in ZVP that Hydralisk was considered sort of the go-to unit, Mass Hydralisks, I believe. I'm like 90% certain that this was... because basically a lot of Protoss players would go for a more mid-tech sort of builds. They would do a lot of Immortals, a lot of Stalkers, which is also very common nowadays, but there's always that transition into your Colossus, into your Templar, into those high-tech AoE units that you didn't see quite as often at one point, and so Hydralisks were very strong versus that mix. Either way, Mass Roach, not really what he wants to do here, but he's going to do it anyways. He's got muscular augments for his not Hydralisks. The augmentation won't really help. I will point out that I don't think he... No, I guess he does. Never mind. I need to hit G there. He does have the muscular augments. I was going to say, off the creep, the Hydralisks don't really have much of an advantage, but actually they are darn fast. 2.81? What? Oh my gosh, Zerg units are just too fast. This is ridiculous. I mean, I don't even... Oh my god, what is that, 3.37 I think? What's a Roach? 4. A Roach is nearly as fast as a Hellion. Oh my gosh. How is that even... I don't even know what to say to that. I will say, though, that his Hydralisks need to get into the fight and stop being distracted. I always feel like overlords have that ability. You can just send them in and distract the back parts of an army more effective than you might think. I will also point out that that arc, again, Benaiah is in an arc that was totally favoring his opponent. Not something you want, especially with ranged units like this. Very, very damaging, very, very dangerous. Also, as usual, he is a base behind his opponent, not a position you want to be in a mirror matchup, and you can see his supply is slowly starting to be just washed away here because what the fuck, it will not be stopped. He is on Hive Tech, so we could be seeing Infestors. Would make a difference. A lot of pro players would get Infestors. Fungal Growths really can make the difference in Roach Hydra battles. We could even be seeing Swarm Hosts, because that would do actually pretty well versus this. If you can contain your opponent's forces, Swarm Hosts are just fantastic, because if they can't outmaneuver the Locust, they're sort of doomed. And frankly, Zerg doesn't have a whole lot of good outmaneuvering units. They just don't. Well, I mean, they have a lot of fast units, but in essence, all of their units are very close range units, and so when you have nothing like a Colossus, where if you can get into position, you can just sort of ruin a whole line of Swarm Hosts pretty easily. I appear to be lagging out again, which is odd, because you don't actually need to be online to see a replay, so whatever. Either way, he's going to be hit at a mildly inopportune angle here, as, oh, look at that arc. It's not even intentional, but he certainly has the better one. Finally getting that better arc. You don't really want to be in this position as a Zerg player, but oh my gosh, more roaches added to the fray. Will it? No, it won't. No, it won't. They're just sort of running into a little bit of a death trap there. I will say that I would love to have seen Burrow out of either of these players, just to save some roaches. I feel like proper micro and tunneling claws really should be almost I don't understand why Zerg don't get that. I mean, yeah, I get the overseers and everything, but unless you're individually microing your roaches to attack, which you honestly should be anyways, but if you aren't doing that, then there's just two of his overlords saning out right there. Alright, whatever, that's okay. It's okay, it's like the perfect scout. I mean, it is literally the perfect scout of... I mean, this scout is so amazing. It's the best scouting ever, oh my god. He doesn't even notice. That's the he must see them. He's just not doing anything. This is the best ever. Oh, what was I saying? But you should be microing the roaches individually. But if you weren't, if the player wasn't, you could use, when you burrow them, they become non-threatening, so the AI probably won't attack them. Basically, in other words, you could burrow them, they'll regenerate, it's just fantastic. I just don't get it. Either way, those infestors I was talking about making their appearance finally. Fungal Growth and Infested Terrans going to be very useful in this matchup. Basically, I always feel that you can go a little bit heavier on the Hydralisks if you have Infestors to back up your army, because Fungal Growth is just so good at holding the roaches back, and then the roaches act like force fields, basically. It's like your opponent's roaches are your new force fields, and they'll hold back his Hydralisks, allowing your Hydralisks to kill his roaches. And then once they have no shields, your roaches can kill his Hydralisks. It's sort of a no-win situation for your opponent. I don't think, he does not have the pathogen glands, which is going to be a little bit of an issue, and he doesn't have neural parasite, but that's not really an issue because you don't often see that. Oh my god, that arc is too good. And now, yep, he's running back. He has to be able to hold this, try not to lose those infestors. Burrow would be amazing. No, wait, there's an overseer. I was about to say Burrow would be amazing. I'm not sure how he survives this, honestly. He's sort of fallen prey to the I'm in the lead, but his, it's hard to explain, but if your opponent, even if you're in the lead, if your opponent is able to build an army while you're not paying attention, you're screwed. And you gotta save the investors. Oh my gosh, why didn't you save them? Oh. Okay, now despite the fact he's lost his entire army, he's only lost his entire army. He still has all the larvae of every hatchery he has, and This is actually a very bad move by his opponent, going after, what is this, his 4th base? I mean, he still has this expand, even. So this isn't going to hurt wotdefack very much. He will lose a bit of income that he really would have liked to have kept. And he will lose that, but he'll gain time. Probably not the... No, don't do that, wotdefack, please. Listen, this force here... Listen, going for the base trade also... Why are there random overlords everywhere on the... Oh, whatever. Going for a base trade, also probably a bad idea if he's been macroing up, which he hasn't been. There should be... Oh, there's a little bit of an army there. You need to be very careful about this situation. I'm not even sure how to talk about this, because really this should have been wotdefack really just sort of crushing face with how well he was playing, but it looks like the safe way is going to be just that much better, because he got the units out when he needed them, and wotdefack really just didn't have them. Now, he really needs to be careful with these units, because if he loses this army, he doesn't really have the ability to recreate it. I don't think he has... Oh, but that arc is beautiful! It's not going to be enough, but he's certainly going to kill more here than he ever should have. Or maybe it will be enough. Oh my gosh, you gotta love that positioning. Oh, it was beautiful. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh, that was the most beautiful positioning I think I've ever seen. Oh. As a Protoss player, you really learn to appreciate positioning. Positioning is everything. It's the most important thing, but 22 roaches, I feel, should eventually clean this up. Maybe not. Does one of these have an upgrade advantage? Okay, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. That upgrade advantage going to be hugely important in this, mostly in the DPS of the Hydralisks, not to mention the durability of the roaches. But again, okay, good, there we go. Again, though, all of a sudden, wotdefack is really low on minerals, low on income, I should say. Look at the difference there, a whole 500 minerals per minute difference. Though their gases remain relatively the same, and wotdefack really still has quite a high harvester count, so he really could just continue to expand up and down all over the place. Long story short, though, this has been one of the longest Roach Hydra parts I've ever really seen. Though Roach Hydra can take you into the late game, and the infestors really do add a lot to your army composition, I would honestly sort of expect to see Hive Tech by now, at least out of benaiah, who certainly has the resources to do it. I don't even know if he has a hive. There's the hive on the way at last. Started that really late. It's going to be punishing him pretty badly for it too. Those upgrades especially just, oh my gosh, if you look at the units lost, wow, that's a lot of resources lost. But either way, I am totally wrong, because I thought it would be favoring wotdefack. But it is not. But this game has just been, I don't even know really what to make of it. Oh my gosh, he's on the move command. But those fungals doing I don't know how much damage they really were doing. They only were... Yeah, they were doing some damage. Not enough, though. wotdefack, losing basically his entire army. He could have lost the game right there if benaiah had pushed that base. He would not have been... He can't afford to lose it, and he couldn't keep it. So, I think... If benaiah, but I don't know if he can lose at any rate at this. 50 supply ahead with a much better army. Some of it's pretty weak, but they're Zerg units, so they're going to keep healing. I almost feel like Watt needs to drop the... No, I don't think he needs to drop the infestors. If you look at his resource count, he really should sort of run into those infestors. If he had the pathogen... No, he does. Why am I missing all these things? I don't even know. know, here is the engagement with the base he could not afford to lose. There's the fungals, just massive fungals going down. They're so tightly packed. Oh my gosh, they're bleeding to death from fungals. But it is not going to be enough. That army just kills the base and walks out. It's just getting bigger and bigger, and Watt's just losing more and more. That upgrade advantage cannot save him forever, and he GG's it out. Game is over. Benaiah wins. Oh my gosh. People don't normally give me games where they lose, so I didn't really expect this. Either way, well played game from both of them. I am FDV vladerag.